Take it away, Craig.
So when you hear the word sales, what do you think of? I remember like 25 years ago, someone said to me, what do you think about sales, and are you a salesman? And I remember the thought that I had. I remember the words that came out of my mouth. I don't like sales, and I'm not a salesman. Now, the last 25 years, things have changed dramatically as far as my thinking about that. And I do believe this. If someone's talking, another person's listening, someone's selling, and someone's buying. My guest today is Corie Wallace. She is a salesperson, so we're going to talk about the art of the close and how life and sales intersect. Corie, thanks for being on the broadcast.
Well, thank you very much, Greg. Happy to be here.
So how did you get involved in sales? I never asked you that question when I met you.
I was sort of accidentally born into it. My father ended up owning a company that he swept the warehouses out of and worked his way up. And eventually, I fought it for the longest time. I came on board, and my position and my propensity evolved into actually going on the road. And I just learned from him in the old school ways, where he said, the only thing you have at the end of the day is your reputation. And that stuck with me, and I found it pretty profound. I just had a knack for it, and evolved and grew and realized there was so much more to it. Because anybody can sit there and think they can sell.
Right.
But they really can't. You know, there's lots of good salespeople, and there's lots of not so good salespeople. And you have to understand really what a sale is. When I hear a lot of men in the industry, and mind you, I came along into this path in the 80s, and it wasn't a typical role for a female at all. So I had to learn a lot more about what not to do than what to do. Because
okay, so I got to jump in. There's a couple things that I want to follow up on. This is intriguing. The first thing is the reputation. I was just listening to somebody talk about Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People last night, and he talked about character. He says it's like the root of the tree. So tell me more. What did your father say about sales and your reputation? I'm intrigued. What did he have to say?
It really comes down to them, because if you don't do what you say you're going to do and have that trust in that relationship, you're going to get a reputation really quick as a manipulator, a conniver, a shyster, you know, and your career is going to end very quickly within that vertical.
Okay. All right. So your word is important. Now talk about the gender situation. I never even thought about it. You know, I know people that are into sales. You know, they're pharmaceutical salespeople. You know, I could go on forever. But there was a time when it really was just a man's world.
Yeah, and I hate to say that because it wasn't that long ago. You know, my life is a blink of an eye to me. You know, women would do things like have Tupperware parties. I remember that, or being an Avon lady or a Mary Kay, and you just go to your girlfriend's houses and sell cosmetics. They weren't very much out on the road. And the industry at the time that we were in, we were manufacturers' representatives of plumbing and heating equipment. So everything that water runs through, from behind the wall to your plumbing fixtures to, you know, fancy, you know, bathroom shower sprays, you know, plumbing was not, you're still to this day hard-pressed to find a female plumber. So I was a real anomaly out there. And I took to it because I became of value. I started out talking to a lot of the engineers for our largest line and really understood how things worked. So when problems arose, I became the go-to girl to solve those problems in a blink of an eye for the entire Northeast region.
Wow.
So talk about a
that's
reputation.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned to be of value first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have something. be of value and be the solution to the problem.
Well, this is what I've heard, and I've heard this from Business Made Simple, Don Miller. I don't know if you've ever read StoryBrand or heard about this guy, but he really says this, that people don't buy except for two reasons. Number one, they're looking to survive, like your car's broken down, you got a flat tire. I heard somebody say today that their garbage disposer's not working. Well, I don't know if that's a real major issue, but so people are looking to either survive. If it's not a thing of survival, it's a thing of thriving. They want to get to the next step in life. And so there's only two reasons why people buy. They think you can solve a problem, you're valuable to them, and you're either going to help them survive or thrive. I guess that's what you're saying, right?
I am saying that, but there's also the emotional part of it. If you're looking at it from the consumerism level, from consumer level, there's a lot of emotional sales out there,
Okay, tell me more.
Well, do you really need that $50,000 Mercedes? Can't you get by on a $26,000 Honda? They both do the same thing. So why are you spending $20,000 more? Because you fell in love. Yeah.
This is a good point, though. If what's important to me is I look good, so I make the next close, whatever that might be. Maybe you know what I mean. Like the emotional aspect might tie into something that has to do with thriving. No.
Oh yeah. Yes. I mean, it all depends on how you define it. Yep, we can go with that word. I don't disagree with you. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, but I want to hear what you have to say. So, in other words, people buy emotionally, don't they?
99.9% of the time. But, and everybody always says they have to know, like, and trust you. They don't have to like you to buy from you. I had a gig I did. It was a horrible gig, but I learned so many of life lessons in doing window and door sales. It was a commission-only gig. It's horrible, and there's a lot of manipulators in it, and the margins in the game that's played. But they really taught a process. And I went through this with one guy. Talk about an industry that doesn't have a lot of women in it, is salespeople. So I immediately disarmed him when I came in the door. But I lost my train of thought for a second there. Sorry. But
you get it back.
I'm going to buy from this guy. I really liked him. He says, but you just showed me how much better your thing is. So I'm going to buy from you.
Okay.
Your skill and being of value and providing information and a reason why to buy can overcome being liked. You can really dislike somebody, but if they have a good fiffle-baffle, they're going to buy it. So it's easier to be liked because you're asked back. It depends on the type of sale, too. If it's a one-off, it's a one-off.
Right. What about real estate? Did you ever get involved in real estate? Because there's a lot of women that are doing that.
Came really close to it. A couple of times. It's such a volatile market that it's so few and far in between that you can really help somebody. I like to be out there on a day-to-day basis touching the community. You know what I mean? For me, you also have to know what your sale is, who you are, and what's your natural fit. Like, I could never do car sales. Yeah, I just could never do what that process is. It's just not a lot of fun at all, in my opinion. Some people thrive in that kind of an environment. But that's where the whole reputation of negative sales comes from, because people feel like they didn't get an honest deal, that something was always hidden, that the person was never really truly trustworthy, and there's that regret, So there's that process, of good salespeople and bad salespeople, those that need to coerce and manipulate, and you get a customer who has regret, and that perpetuates the negative reputation. Don't go see that guy. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, but then there was Joe Girardi that, passed away in 2019. I'm sure you came across him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know him, and I heard the story, but apparently he was good. But I hear what you're saying, people think, oh, used car salesmen, stay away, that sort of thing.
And everyone always says, I've heard at some of my customers' places of business, I don't know how anybody could be a salesman. They're such horrible people. And I'm standing, they don't know, but that's the perception. Because there's so many people that either out of desperation put pressure, they're not doing what a sale is. At the end of the day, you have to really know what a good sale is. And a good sale is like going on a good date. It's mutually beneficial to both people. And that at the end of the day, you're both content with the end result. That you've under-promised and over-delivered.
I love that because, it's based on a relationship. It's based on what I just was listening to this Dale Carnegie presentation, not Dale Carnegie, Stephen Covey, where the focus was win-win, not manipulation, not, hey, I got some property in Mexico. I want you to buy it, timeshare, and there's no, you know what I mean? Yeah.
That's the reputation out there. Right. But that's why I've been able to do this for so long and sustained a livelihood, because it goes back to your reputation is the only thing that you have. And a good sale is mutually beneficial, and you're invited back. There are many times I will walk in because I had to take over a whole territory, and I've never met the person. It's my first meeting, and we're doing a big buy. And I won't even show them what the actual total amount of the sale was. And I know it's a good sale when they don't ask and they say thank you. And I walk out.
Right.
They have no idea what they spent. So how do you get there? You know what I mean? You have to be real, and you have to do a process that's more about listening. And we both heard this, the first thing is first seek to understand, then be understood. People need to buy things. It's a matter of who they're going to buy it from. So if you're the one listening to how they want to shop, then you're going to win, because you're not selling to them anymore. They're shopping.
Wow.
So the sale has already happened. So you have to stop and listen. You have to disarm people. You have to make them feel comfortable around you, and that you're not going to do whatever it is they say they don't like. Instead of going in and doing a cookie cutter tap dance, everybody at the end of the day, and you said it up front, is a salesman. You're selling something. 9 out of 10 times, you're selling yourself. If you see a girl at a club and you want to meet her, you've got to put on all your charm. You've got to sell yourself to her in order for her to take interest. If you want a job, you're selling yourself. You're telling all the things and bringing in a brag book and a resume and telling them why you're the person. So everybody's selling something. How do you get them to buy? That's really what it is. So that's why I really kind of laugh when people say, I just can't stand salespeople. They just can't be trusted. They're, because everybody is.
Right.
To your neighbor, it's amazing. So, but the most successful people, I like Jim Rohn. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I met him in person a few years back. Yeah.
Really? Amazing fellow and very profound. And he told a story, and I'll never forget it because I just sat there and listened to it over and over, of how he was in a bar, and this gentleman started talking to him. they were at some show or whatever, and they were at a bar, and Jim would ask a few questions and be quiet, and the man would just go on and on and on and on. And the night started to wane late, and he said, "That's it, I got to go to my room." He goes, "Oh, please, don't go. You're the most interesting person I've met." And all he did was let the guy talk about himself.
Yeah.
So it's so important not to be the motor mouth. I mean, here I am today with you, but I'm the topic, so I got to say something. So
it's the idea you have two ears and one mouth, right? So let's do this, Corie. Sit tight. We're going to take a 30-second commercial. We'll be right back. When we come back, I want to ask you about the science and the art of sales, because I think there's a science to it, but there's also an art. And it sounds like you got the art and the science now. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Hold tight.
You've been listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show, brought to you by motivational speaker Greg Dwyer on buildingfortunesradio.com. Do you wish you could sharpen your focus on what matters most to you and achieve more? Then you owe it to yourself to read Greg's ebook at gregdwyerebook.com. That's www.gregdwyerebook.com. Download it today and give it away. As always, we want to thank you for listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio with motivational speaker Greg Dwyer. Now back to our show. Take it away, Greg.
All right, we're with Corie Wallace. We're talking about the art of the sale. There's a science to it. Like, I remember Hopkins. I'm sure you remember this guy. I mean, he had every closing technique, right? And it's a science. He's like, okay, well, you got to do the puppy dog close, or you got to do this close. It sounds like manipulation. And then I think there's an art to it, which is almost like a dance. You know what I mean? So talk a little bit about the art of the science of sales.
It really is, and I actually really cut my teeth on Tom Hopkins, so it's really funny you brought him up. I am a big fan because he was incredibly unsuccessful real estate broker until he met a gentleman who opened up his eyes, and all he does is tell what he did. He had very little education. So I find him very profound and very brilliant, and have used a few of his tools. But it really is understanding the process from beginning to end, how to open up and disarm somebody and get them to talk and feel comfortable within a very short period of time. You only have about 5 or 10 minutes to do that. And you need to quickly with them so that you can get down to business and start writing orders and start making money. You're both there for a reason, and yet you still need to bond. It's a relationship first. It is a dance. It's a date. And it took me a long time to understand that because women are used to being pursued. So it took me many years to realize the thought process that comes naturally to the other sex. And I hate to sound sexist, but it's true. It's just the way we are in life and how you have to look at things from all perspectives. So you need to disarm them in whatever fashion you feel comfortable with. Either you talk about their business or how long they've been in business. Let them talk about them, that story that I just told you. The more they talk about themselves, the more they think you're interesting and wonderful. We just learned that lesson. So that is probably the most important thing because then they feel relaxed and they trust you. And they actually kind of like you. And then there's your presentation, of whatever your product is. For me, what I do now is just second nature, going through items and seeing what they want or filling the holes in the needs. But there are some traits and skills that you need to have. And I don't know if they're learned skills. And this is why not everybody can do sales. You have to be able to read the person that's in front of you. You have to see how they react, their body language, their eyes, what they're doing as you're going through and showing them certain items, because you know right away whether they want that or not. You have to be able to be aware. That's why it is good to have two eyes and only one mouth, because you really have to take it all in. That's probably the most important thing you can do, because If you're pushing something that they're pulling away from, they're going to ask you quickly to leave. And you're going to lose a lot of money from the table because now they feel you're forcing them to get something they don't want.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to the close, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You want to get to no, you know, because very rarely are you going to have what we call in the industry a laydown, because it's impossible because nobody wants to seem like they're an easy sale. It's just the way it is, at least in the Northeast. Maybe in the mid-states, Oklahoma, everybody's just kind of open. But no one wants to seem like they're just an easy sale. So there's presentation and walking them through the process. But the most important thing is up front, the disarming and the communication up front and getting the connection. The most important thing is at the end. Let them say no, because it really is very much a Tom Hopkins process. Once they say no, it's like, great, you know. And they're like, what do you mean, great? We're not going to do business today. You're walking away. So they're relaxed. So now they'll tell you really the reason why they didn't want to do business. So it's not this kind of close or that kind of close. It's just getting them to tell you why they don't want what you're selling. And that's why you want to get to know. It's constantly disarming them of the walls and barriers that we all put up in our everyday life. Because we don't want people to be able to read us and see us that we don't know. That intimacy, that bond, that relationship isn't there. Over time, as you go and see somebody over and over again, it's easy. You walk in, you write business, you go. But that first initial one, you need to find out what makes them tick, the real deal. And that's when that first seek to understand, then be understood comes into play. And that's very important. Shut up and listen. A lot of people talk themselves out of a sale. You need to hear what they have to say. Because maybe you presented it wrong. Maybe you said the wrong words. Maybe you were in a completely different direction. You know, it's very rarely cost. It really is very rarely cost if you put the value into it. It really is their comfortability with they really didn't want this. They really didn't want blue. They wanted yellow. It really is. So you have to get them to tell you that. And as it's almost like Columbo. You know?
Yeah.
If anybody remembers Columbo, it really is, you know, he's leaving. He's like, okay, you're not the guy. You're not the guy. And then you're like, but do you mind telling me how come this? And they're like, oh, yeah. Because now they think they're free. Then they nail themselves. So it really is that.
So let me ask you, do you love the chase? Do you love the challenge? Do you love the uncertainty of what you're going to find in the next call? Do you love it?
I love that every day is different, that every situation is different. But I never feel uncertainty. There is this thing. There's one thing that we all control every day when we wake up, and that's our attitude. So I always know that I'm going to get up every day, get in my car, go to my appointment, and I'm going to make a sale. I always start at the end and work my way backwards as I'm doing that drive. I always know how it's going to go. There is no uncertainty. I don't know how to describe it any other way. You have to take the time to prepare. And you have to say, okay, this is what I know they're going to buy, and this is what's going to fit them. And then you work your way back in the different possible scenarios. So it's never that. So I enjoy the maze of how to get to the point that I envision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I was just listening to somebody yesterday. They said there's two parts of creation. One is internally, where you think about it, And then the second one is it happens out in the real world. So the other thing I hear you saying is you shouldn't be afraid of getting a no. And then tell me what you think about the topic of rejection. Like, let's say no one buys that day, or they say no, and there's no open door. What do you think about the topic of rejection, or you don't even consider it rejection?
I don't consider it rejection. You can't. Mm-hmm. What a negative word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't. You have to want to wake up every day and get in the shower and get in the car and get out there. You know what I mean? And enjoy the process. Because all that means is by the end of the week, you're going to have some really big sales, because every no is one step closer to that yes. And you have to have that positivity. You have to have that belief in yourself, or else you could never get out of bed in the morning. You know, because it's like, oh, what if I get rejected today? What if I get You're almost self-prophetizing failure. You know, at the end of the day, you just said, okay, so I had a bad day. Let's reevaluate. What did I do well? What could have I done better? How do I improve? What did I miss? So I can go back and get that yes from him next time. Because just because they've shown me the door today doesn't mean next week I'm not going to go back and say, you know what? I was thinking about you. I had to stop back in. Wow. Wow. It's just no for today. It's no for now. You know what I mean? I always look forward to a no, because it's never a no. It's never a no.
So let me ask you this. I'm looking at the clock. We have like 2 minutes left. If we gave you someone to work with today, maybe tomorrow, and you were to take them out on the road, and you just had a day with somebody that was brand new and had to learn the ropes, what secrets? And we got about a minute. We got about a minute and a half. What secrets would you reveal to them about the process, other than what you just talked about?
Always be of other self. Never look at everything as what's in it for you. Always what's in it for them. Always. Because that's how you will make a sale. And always, give unconditional acceptance to that person. There's not everybody you run into, you're going to have there can be friction. It's just two personalities that don't normally mesh, but it's not personal. So accept who they are for whatever you see them as, because it makes no difference. You can still help them. You don't have to be their friend. And probably and again, really, it's the attitude. It really is that. It's just no is just the beginning. No is just the beginning. And take those things to heart.
Okay. So how do people get a hold of you? You got about 15 seconds here.
Well, you found me on Facebook, Corie Wallace.
Excellent.
And
I'm looking at the time. I wish we had more time, but we're out of time. We'll talk to you soon. And thanks, everybody. And I know we gave you something to think about. Corie, thanks.
Thanks, Greg.
You've been listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show, brought to you by motivational speaker Greg Dwyer on buildingfortunesradio.com. Check out Greg at gregdwyer.com. Be sure to download his ebook at gregdwyerebook.com to stay focused on what matters most to you. That's www.gregdwyerebook.com. We want to thank you for listening. Now go make a difference in your world.